host in the History, Film, and Enterprise Forum that you are experiencing. So I hope everyone's enjoying the presentation so far, right?
Yep. Yes.
Great. So we have yet another one of my favorite presentations. This, what you're going to see is the an African American Cultural Celebration this year. As I mentioned, we have a History, Film, and Enterprise theme. And normally we have an Enterprise panel, but the theme in Enterprise this year is historic preservation. Okay, so keep that in mind, historic preservation. And what you're going to see in this upcoming program is a tribute to our nation's last black congressman from Reconstruction, Congressman George Henry White, who was born in Spaulding County, North Carolina in 1852. And without further ado, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our presenters. The Congressman George H. White Memorial is the only established honor to Congressman White in his birth county. It's a project that was started several years ago, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 2015. And so who's going to present the history of the preservation and the repurposing of the George H. White Community Center are first, Mr. Vincent Spaulding, who's the director of the Congressman George Henry White Community Memorial Center in Spaulding County. George White rose from the backwoods of North Carolina. He's a literal Tar Heel who was turpentine, tar, pitch, and rosin in Spaulding County. And as I mentioned, he was born during slavery. And when his mother passed away at age 5, he was adopted by the Spaulding family in Spaulding and Columbus counties, who were free people of color and known for their education and enterprise. George White later became an educator, educated at Howard University, and then a lawyer who passed the bar in 1879. He was elected to both houses of the North Carolina legislature during the Reconstruction, serving and representing Craven County and later Edgecombe County in the United States House of Representatives 2nd District, or what was known as the Black Congressional 2nd District. He was elected in 1896 and was the last black Republican to serve in the United States Congress during Reconstruction from 1897 to 1901. Many of you might know him from President Obama's inauguration speech in 2008, where he referred to Congressman White and rising from the ashes like a phoenix, which is a quote directly from George White's 1901 departure from Congress, when he was the sole voice for some 10 million African Americans, including as author and bill to outlaw lynching and standing strong against the erosion of political rights for all. When the right to vote was denied to North Carolina's black citizens in 1900, George White left politics and chose instead to build an economic empire, basing himself out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where he founded an exiled community from Wilmington, North Carolina, from the only known coup d'etat in 1898, creating a community in southern New Jersey called Whitesboro. And if you were here earlier, in 2019, you had the opportunity to see the only known artifact that was donated from the concerned citizens of Whitesboro, the only known artifact of Congressman George Henry White, which is currently on exhibit at the Museum of the Cape Fear and the Freedom Disrupted exhibit. So White died in Philadelphia in 1918, and in the dark decades that followed, his story was all but lost. So your presentation will be today from Mr. Vince Spaulding and Dr. Milton Campbell, who are both descendants of the Spauldings and part of the Edith and Benjamin Spaulding Foundation. So without further ado, give a big hand for Dr. Milton Campbell.
Thank you, Errol, for such a generous welcome this afternoon. Truly, I would like to thank everyone for coming and staying. I know it has been a long day. I've been here since 9 o'clock trying to get somewhere to park, so I truly do thank everyone for coming. So today at the 19th Annual Afro-American Culture Celebration, my task is to speak on the George Henry White Memorial Health and Educational Center. There's a little background information. If you care to know a little bit about more about what's going on, the website www.georgehenrywhite.com. This is a 501c nonprofit established for the educational, literary, and charitable purposes. This project is a project of the Benjamin Edith Spaulding Descendants Foundation with the project coordinator, Mr. Vincent Spaulding. Could you stand, please? Also, at this time, all of the board members, we have 27 board members. If you are present, could you please stand? And any descendants of Congressman George Henry White, could you please stand? Thank you. Okay. George Henry White Memorial Health and Educational Center serves as a memorial space focusing on the life and legacy of the late Congressman George Henry White, 1852 to 1918. It serves also to improve the quality of life of citizens of Bladen and Columbus counties, both underserved areas. If you would look at the statistics, Bladen County is ranked last out of the 100 counties in North Carolina with a 29.3% poverty rate. Columbus County is ranked 4th at 25.3%. So these are among the lowest counties for people who are living in poverty in the 100 counties in North Carolina. It also serves as a space for civic, educational, and health initiatives. A senatorial statement was honoring the legacy of George Henry White was submitted by Senator Wiley, Nichols, and Senator Bill Rabon. We are waiting to get this signed. In this senatorial statement, the most important thing I think to take out of this, we can talk about when he was born, but if you read in it to honor his life, and also George Henry White was known for introducing the anti-lynching bill to stop hanging Afro-Americans. And I think that is one of the, if you don't take anything else out of this talk, remember that actually, way before King, there were people laying the groundwork. This is one of the individuals who you hear very little bit about. Who is George Henry White? Who is this man? And even if you go to the Afro-American Museum of History, which I spent 5 hours, there's very little spoke of any of the congressmen, 20 plus, way before, like I said, King. So actually, I think that is one of the most, even for us to advance, someone laid the groundwork, okay? All right. Now on the website, rise once again, George Henry White American Phoenix. Again, we started this project as a George Henry White Community Memorial Center. As it evolved, it became not only a memorial center, we saw a need to make it into a health center. The older people, many people who cannot read or write. So this is one reason even not just in Bladen and Columbus County, all in the rural areas of North Carolina deal with this problem here. Okay, this is what we started with. This house was donated by descendants of Benjamin Edith Spaulding, which as a child I lived in this home. This is the former home of Mattie Spaulding, my grandmother, born 1890, died in 1978. She was not only an educator, she taught school at the Afro-American schools and the Indian schools. Back then, very few people could even read or write, much less go to college a few years to even. So she was, and also she was a farmer, and she charged nothing for any of her work. And so this is one of the motivating skills we need to help give back. As a child, I was told, you don't forget where you come from. And that has stuck in my house, and from the Spaulding family and in the whole area. We always, if you die broke, that's okay. If you can give back and help the next person, make the next generation better, okay? So, moving right along. After this is a photograph of, we tried to employ local people, the local workers, and they actually started removing the old paint off the home. This is the first part of the renovation process that we started. Here's local workers, as I said, in the community that we have, again, showing a continuous work on the home. Again, here's more. And right here on the back side here on the left where the brick is, that used to be an old pump house. Of course, with galvanized piping, everything, the house is in such bad shape. Not only was the water, the pump house had to be redone, also water and all the wiring. This house was built approximately around 1920, documented 1920, could have been built a little bit over, so it's at least 100 years old, maybe a little bit more than 100 years old. Okay. Again, also the youth in the community. It was our task also to give the youth something to do. A lot of young kids are sitting around, don't know how to work, don't want to do anything, but we tried to involve the youth also on this project. Again, this is starting at the beginning. If you remember what the roof looked like when we started, we actually actually from the front door on the left side of the house, we repaired the roofing. So we had a local team to come in to do that. Also, you see the painting of the home. This is an extended view of somewhat a finished product, but not finished, only on the exterior, not into the interior yet. So I'm and this is the back side of the home. As you can see, we've come a long way from where we started, okay? Okay, well, that's once again just another overview here, just a couple of shots of the home. Okay, now this is on the back side of the home, right here as you come up. Actually, as you can see, we went on eventually and we replaced these back doors, which doesn't show on this shot, but also on the flooring. You see, we are still seeking funds to complete the project. We haven't completed the project, but we are moving forward. So of course we have to, on the back porch, this has to be done, and the plan is to work with the neighborhood watch and the community to get local workers to actually come in and also build a deck and also have this handicap accessible. So, okay, it's just another side view with the soybeans in the field there, as you can see. So, okay. So the next step, once we did the interior of the house, we moved on to getting Brunswick Electric, which is the local power company in the area, to actually put temporary power in the home. Yeah, okay, so this just is the pole here where they came out. They started to put temporary power so we could start working on the interior of the home. Okay, we just got this, as you can see, on 2018. This is the new pump house with all the new regulations. Of course, the old pump house, everything has to be so many feet away from the property. Okay, now, before you start to work on the interior of a home, you need to see, are there any artifacts? I can tell you in most communities, there are artifacts that are thrown away. Now, you must remember, this lady was born 1890. And her mother, and it was about 1852. There is tons of artifacts from first deeds around 1898, 1900. Also, these are 3 of the descendants of George Henry White's first wife here that actually was helping collect artifacts in the home. Okay. Okay, right here, do anyone know what's that? Do anybody know what are you looking at besides Earl? Well, you're telling your age. Strawberry tray. Okay, good. Strawberry. So, like I said, Mattie Spaulding Campbell, they were farmers. So this is one of the earlier trays. Earl said he didn't have one in the museum, so I encouraged the foundation to donate this tray. Here, once again, do you know what this item is? I'm gonna have to go to Earl.
But I got to give a special plug. That's a sweet potato basket that belonged to Mattie Spaulding Campbell. It's going to be on exhibit next month as part of a sweet potato exhibit in the transatlantic slave trade. So come back next month and see that. Thank you much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. Okay, and so this is just getting a certification done for donation. Here's Earl again. He's actually planting a longleaf pine on the property. He's a famous man, you see here. Okay, now, right here, this is in the interior of the home. You can actually see the flooring. Now, you see it has to be stripped. The beauty of this house, we just saved it in time. In the community, there were dozens. This is probably one of two left. One or two. This is a copy of the kitchen area. There were old dilapidated cabinets, so actually everything had to be removed. Again, you can look at the flooring. And most of the property, and most of the home, the flooring was okay, but in the kitchen and the dining area, the flooring completely, the woodwork had to be redone. So this is some of the early process of the renovation here. Okay, look here. This is what we have right now. You can look at this flooring and look at the paint job. So we have come a long way from 2015 to now. Also, if you look up in the ceiling, you see the temporary wiring that we're doing. We're waiting to put in the, only temporary at the moment because we have other structural issues that we have to deal with in room expansion. Okay, this house had one bathroom. We actually have started, made handicap accessible for whoever that may not be able. Okay, this is the kitchen area. You remember I showed you a blanket of the kitchen. We actually have new kitchen cabinet, new stove and a refrigerator. I don't have a shot of the refrigerator, but this is where we are right now. Okay, this room here, as you go in the front door of the center on the left, this is the first room where we had designated the George Henry White Educational Room. This is one of the first talks, yours truly, having visitors at the center. And the project coordinator, Vincent Spaulding, had placed information concerning the legacy of George Henry White. Again, once the visitors are at the center, and this is without the visitors, you can just see the layout that we've done. Next, of course, you need the beautification of the property, landscaping. What you're seeing here are students from Whitesville High School in Columbus County actually donating their time to actually help landscape the property. Once again, just giving you another shot of the students. This is the completion of the project here. Okay. Also, when you're doing a project, you have to get the community involvement. Right here, we have the Neighborhood Watch. O.C. Jones is the person who is over the Neighborhood Watch for the community, and this is a fundraiser that he started right here with some descendants of Congressman White here and local citizens, okay? Here's just another shot here, okay? Now, also, O.C. Jones and other people of the board, they were like, how can we get the community involved? So a memorial lane idea came up where you actually can honor your loved ones. A direct descendant honoring Mattie Spaulding Campbell, who was the original homeowner. So someone purchased the stone and the tree, and this is the way we were able to get the community involved, okay? And right here, as you see, we are well on the way. People have purchased these, and we still got a ways to go, but this actually helped the community watch landscape and take care of some of the costs, exterior costs on the center. Okay, the big day was about to arrive. We thought we were at the point that it was time for some news people to come down. So we had local citizens to actually decorate it. Jenny Freeman is the person that actually decorated the sign and to actually put bows and stuff on the house before the TV crew came down. ABC News. Now you know we really were excited, right? So going way in this little rural Bladen County. So right here, this is the setup of the cameraman taking shots of the center. Okay, right here, this is Tim Pullen, and he's actually from, like I said, ABC News. He actually is viewing some of the literature, and I'm not sure he even knew who George Henry White was. So he's actually getting some background information with his cameraman right here before he entered. Okay, so right here, this is, and once they get inside, they start to talk with Mr. O.C. Jones, who is the Neighborhood Watch director there. So OC is talking with Tim and the cameraman and telling some of the things that they're planning to do in the center and different things about getting with the neighborhood watch. Okay? Right here, George Henry White, it just in the educational room, we talk about he was a lawyer, prosecutor, elected officials. Also, you have to the right a picture of President Obama, who received the George Henry White Award by the Benjamin D. Spaulding Center's Foundation for his outstanding work. Here we have Miss Kimmy Lassiter and against Earl Hines, where Mr. O.C. Jones is talking in the beginning what we started with. And I showed you just one shot, and they wanted to bore you with too many of the bad shots. So, but they started at the beginning and the things that they are planning to do as we move forward, okay? Okay, again, here's the project coordinator, Vincent Campbell, going over historical material with Ms. Lassiter. Again, Earl and Ms. Lassiter looking at some of the historical information and talking about the life of Congressman White. Right here, again, just look at the flooring. It's what we started with. Just look at the floor, look at the paint job. As you see, it took a lot of work. Right here, if you see, this flag was flown over the Capitol, and we are so happy to have this in honoring of the commemoration of the farewell speech of Congressman White. He actually was in Congress January the 29th, 1901 was his last day. But this actually was for his service in Congress. This was allowed given to the foundation. And so we are so happy to have that in the home. Again, this is just an overview of the George Henry White Educational Room. So as you come into the center, it's the first room to the left. Okay. Also, we were pleased to have Stedman Graham, who did his identity leadership. He did a youth developmental workshop in the center for the youth. And once again, you see Earl Hines here. And again, Stedman Graham. So how to keep the youth out of drugs, just different things as it relates to youth and youth development. So the George Henry White Education Center, the 2020 tentative agenda is open house to be established in 2020, local food pantry for qualified citizens. These are things we're planning to do. The youth development and leadership workshops, civic meetings, youth groups, neighborhood watch meetings, preparatory classes to residents to take the GED exam. Senior health and fitness awareness. And this is what I really want to focus on, because I know within not just this area, so many people be sick, don't go to the doctor. They won't even go 10 miles in town to see a doctor. So what we're trying to do, we have local doctors, local PAs who are willing to come into the community so we can get your blood pressure checked. We can check you for diabetes. So this is one thing that I'm really focusing on to help the quality of life for all citizens. And again, understanding your ancestral lineage. These are just a few of the topics, but I am very much surprised the author of 2 books for Congressman George Henry White and even Chance to Race to Life, Dr. Ben Justin is here. Could you please stand? And this was a surprise because I didn't know he was coming. so yeah, okay. So this does conclude my talk, but I do have, these are major donors. We had many, many donors. If anybody, like I said, we is a 501c nonprofit. These are acknowledgement of major donors, but we have more donors, okay? And this is just this is the last slide I have, and thank you for taking the time to stay and listen, because I know, like I said, your day's been long, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Milton. And before you go, can you give us a website or Twitter?
Yeah, at the beginning, this first slide is www.georgehenrywhite.
So that's for everybody on your smartphones, that's georgehenrywhite.org. And just to recap, Congressman White, born in Columbus, Bladen County area, was the last elected black Republican congressman from America, from the 2nd District in Eastern North Carolina. And actually he represented Princeville when he did that back then. Princeville and Tarboro, where he later moved. So the open house, please check the website. GeorgeHenryWhite.com for the open house coming up this summer. And again, this is part of our theme of historic preservation. I've had the privilege to work with Milton and Vincent, and Vincent's kind of shy, so I'm going to read something that he wanted to convey. Hello, for your information, the poverty level for Bladen and Columbus counties that will be served by the George Henry White Memorial Health and Education Center is 29.1% poverty level in Bladen County and 25.3% poverty, that's 1 out of 4 people in Columbus County. And Bladen County has the highest percentage of persons in poverty in the entire state of North Carolina. So much of the work of filling the gaps, as Milton has shown, in these underserved areas is intended to be done by the George H. White Center. So we're currently moving forward with implementation of a food pantry and other items. So while they're here, as I mentioned, they're 501c3, it's tax deductible donations. Go online or go on your smartphones and contribute, and come and be a friend as well when the open house is sometime this year. So again, thank you. And if you want to have any questions or comments for Dr. Milton Campbell, again, the Maddie Spaulding Campbell artifact will be on exhibit. The sweet potato basket that he showed you will be on exhibit next month up in the lobby in the main Collecting Carolina case.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vincent, don't
I just want to make one remark. I think Milton did a beautiful job of covering the status of the project. But I want to mention Pearl. From day one, we decided to do this project in 2015. We asked him to come on board as our advisor and our consultant. He's been with us all the way. He's been visited the facility many times, as was shown in the view graph. We really appreciate your assistance.
Turn the mic up, please. Turn the mic up.
Hold it up close to your mouth.
Okay, appreciate your assistance.
Thank you.
And one other thing, I'd like to just refer everybody back again to the George Henry White website. That's GeorgeHenryWhite.com. And on the menu bar, go to the George Henry White Center. There we try to keep information regarding the status of the project, photos, updates, how you can participate, how you can contribute. And that's an ongoing living website that we are maintaining with respect to the project we are doing. Our plan this year, if we are successful fundraising, is to have the project fully operational by the end of calendar year 2020.
Thank you, Vincent. And again, and just to recap, the material culture, the historic preservation, as Milton pointed out, I didn't realize, the last 2 circa 1900 properties that are left. And many of us are going to go back to places in rural eastern North Carolina, western North Carolina, going to pass 1900 houses that are perfectly fine if someone would take the opportunity to preserve it and repurpose it for that community. It can be a shining jewel for others. So we not only have been getting that artifact, but it turned into a lead for the Congressman George H. White sword that's on exhibit in the Freedoms of Promise Disrupted exhibit that is currently at the Museum of the Cape Fear in Fayetteville. So if you have an opportunity to go and see that exhibit, I would encourage you. Also, Dr. Ben Justison, thank you for coming out. His book is in the gift shop, George Henry White. So please go up and maybe he can autograph it while he's here. He came down from Alexandria, Virginia for the program. So thank you. So again, thank everybody for coming out, and stay tuned for our next presenter, Mr. Willie Dry.